Okay, so this is actually a review of IM2. Okay. So let's look right here. Your quadratic formula is going to be on the top right. Okay, it's going to be on the top right. And I want you guys to remember, okay, remember this process we did here. Okay, we did that around 2 weeks ago. Okay. Now, we're just going to use this formula right over here. Okay, this is your quadratic formula. And we're going to plug these numbers that you see. Okay, we're going to plug these numbers that you see into this formula and put it in these spaces here. Okay, so your B is going to go where the blue highlights are. Okay, which are going to be right here. Okay, let me write that negative 12 a little better. Okay, that's going to be your blue highlight. Boom, boom. Your A is going to be negative. Is going to be where your green highlights are, right here and here. Okay, and your C is going to be where the orange highlights are, right here. Okay. Now ignore this dotted line for now and just look at how I plug that in. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and simplify this now. Okay. A negative 12 becomes a positive 12. And I'm going to square root this guy. This house was over the whole thing. Okay. Negative 12 squared means negative 12 times negative 12, which is positive 144. Okay. Now, here, okay, here, I'm going to put this dotted line here as a separator, as a temporary separator. Okay. Now, what's literally put in negative 4 times negative 3 times negative 2 into your calculator, and you are going to get negative 24. Okay. Negative 4 times negative 3 times negative 2 is negative 24 over negative 6. Okay. Now, we're going to do 12 plus or minus square root of 120. Okay. Over negative 6 is what we got. Okay. Now we're going to, for this 120, okay, we're going to do the same process that you see in this pink box right here. Okay, that's not a good color to choose. In this blue box, we're going to do 120 just like this blue box here. Okay, so remember, we're going to use only prime numbers. Okay, I'm going to jump ahead and go straight to the answer. Okay, 120, let's see, 4. Okay, 120, once you go through this blue box process, you are going to get 12 plus or minus 2 root 30 over 6. Okay. And then we are pretty much done here. Okay. we are pretty much done over here. You just got to do one last step. What is the GCF of 12, 2, and 6? Okay, we can reduce 12, 2, and 6 by 2, by the GCF of 2, 2, and 2. Okay, and you get 6 plus or minus root 30, 1 root 30 over 3. Because 12 divided by 2 is 6, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, so I think everything is pretty straightforward over here. The only thing that you might have to remind yourself of, let me actually see if I can make this box orange here. Nah, that's not a good color either. Let's try gray. Gray's not bad. Okay, let's try this right here. Okay, the only thing you might have to remind yourself of is how I got this 2 root 30 over here. The 2 root 30 over here, remember, this 2 root 30 is from that blue box. Okay, you might need to refresh your memory on that. The last thing I want to say is that let's pretend this was a negative 120 right here. Let's say this were a negative 120. I'm going to make it green. Okay. All right. I'm making a scenario up. Okay. Let's say it was negative 120. Then everything stays the same except you add an I here. Okay. You add an I in the end for imaginary number. Because when you square root a negative number, it's an error on your calculator. Nothing times itself will give you a negative number. 5 times 5, for example, is 25, is positive 25. Negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. There's no such thing as a square root of a negative number. Okay, you can try doing a square root of negative 120 and you'll see it's an error. So we're going to use imaginary numbers in this case. So long story short, let me just make a shortcut. Anytime you have a negative, anytime you have one number, not two, I'm not talking about that step. I'm talking about this step. Anytime you have one number inside the square root that's negative, okay, a total of one number inside the square root is negative, that just means you do everything the same way except you slap on an I right here and here. Okay? All right. Cool. All right, folks. I want you guys to do the following problems over here. That's a recap on quadratic formula, which is from IM2.